the 5 steps we looked at in our last session. In today's session, we focus on creating a culture of continuous improvement, which is number 4 on our 5 steps to enterprise agility. So as we go deep into the session to explore today's topic, I would like to welcome people from around the world. And luckily, we've had people register from all these particular areas. And we want to say, if you're online today, welcome, and we look forward to you joining our future sessions. Who am I? An agile consultant, trainer, and coach. I've been training, I can say a few organizations. I've been training a lot of organizations on my journey, and I've also been presenting on webinars and invited to speak at events. So I'll be sharing some of the experiences gained from working in such transformations and the lessons I've learned being part of such transformations. Here are some of our upcoming webinars. We'll be looking at product management on the 30th of June. We'll be taking a look at an important success criteria when you are on this journey of transformation. OKRs, objectives, key results for organizational improvements. It's an important success measure for organizations that are on the journey. Then we've got other events coming up. I will be sharing on success criteria using OKRs. OKRs are helping organizations set important objectives, audacious objectives, where if team members achieve those objectives, can lead to success across the entire organization. And we've got a leadership topic and then a topic on data and virtual reality sometime later in the year. What am I talking about today? We're going to look at the continuous learning culture, why continuous learning culture is so important. And we'll take a look at the continuous learning culture that helps create the improvement we want to see within organizations. And at the end, I'll share some key takeaways that we can, as individuals, take away to implement a continuous improvement culture within our organizations. So we'll cover these key topics in the next 40 to 45 minutes. It's always important to know that there have been people who've started ahead of us. Edison, who famously said, "I've not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." Yes, when we get on this real learning journey, it needs to get to the heart of the teams that are involved. It needs to get to our personal hearts, where we, as an individual, want to recreate ourselves during this journey. And we can only do that through learning. And this can enable us do something we've never done before. And when we learn, we would fail. And when we fail, it's an opportunity to learn with those feedbacks and continuously improve. Improvement is based on learning and never settling that good is enough. We would look at what we've done today and ask, what if? What can I do differently? What could we have done? What have we failed to do? What next? What next? What next? Those are the key things that can lead to a continuous improvement learning culture within the organization. I do get asked, William, I am a business analyst, I'm a scrum master, I'm an agile coach, I'm a product owner. How can I be the one starting all of this? Yes, as an individual, you can adopt that continuous improvement and learning culture daily in the way you do your work. When you start adopting it, you start asking key questions when you are in meetings with your colleagues. And when everyone knows that you are constantly focused on improving, there is that little ripple effect. An infectious smile, when you put an infectious smile on your face, other people will catch it, and with time, it starts moving. And that's the way it changes. You, that individual, can start it. You can start it with your team. But it's really powerful when it starts with leadership teams. I know of a colleague who would always say, It doesn't have to always start with the leadership team. It can start with you as an individual to lead the new ways of working. So why do we think this is important? And what is the continuous improvement culture within organization? We are going to take a look at it from SAFE, the Skilled Agile Framework, and we'll be looking at some three dimensions that the SAFE framework helps us to explore this topic of continuous improvement under the continuous learning culture. The history behind continuous improvement, continuous learning is all on the Toyota production system and the Toyota Ways, which was a book written in 2001, is one that drives all these ways of working. But in this way of working, the idea of learning is something, not a one-time activity. It's a continuous activity. It should be fundamental to the way we work, talk, and engage with our colleagues. And it's not something we choose to do. It's something that must become a part of us. Continuous learning, continuous improvement is not a project. It's the work we do and what we have to do to ensure that our organizations become the best place we want to work. We will take a look at a few organizations, or I know most of us want to work in organizations that are outstanding and is the best place to work. The SAFE framework, it's a framework that can be implemented to enable the continuous improvement culture. And under the SAFE framework, we put it under the continuous learning culture. And we would look at those three dimensions that enable that new ways of working. If you want to look at our other videos, we talk about all the other areas of the SAFE framework on some of our webinars and in some of our videos at the on the LIT YouTube channel. And on the LIT YouTube channel, you find a plethora of topics. We've talked about coaching, we've talked about data, we've talked about leadership, we've talked about testing, and there's so much you can learn on our website. But our focus today is the continuous learning culture to help us improve. Is it needed? Startups are challenging the status quo. They are transforming the way our markets are. They are disrupting. So organizations that have been around for many years, I don't want to say the word Nokia, Kodak, all these organizations, did they fail to learn? Did they fail to master the new ways of working? Probably they didn't adopt the feedback that was needed from the customer to improve their ways of working in order to stay competitive on the market. Political economies are in turmoil. Are people learning? Are governments learning? Are there things that we could learn to improve the way of working? So, as I said, it needs to be continuous. It needs to be a way of life. Even though our focus today will be on organizations, the focus is also on you. What can you do to help embed the continuous improvement culture within your organization and the way you do things? In many organizations, this is what we will see. Culture. We will say culture is equal to strategy, people, cost, revenue, metrics. But there's this interesting quote that says, culture change comes last. Why would culture change comes last when we are transforming an organization? When we are on the journey of embedding new ways of working? Yes, often culture change will come last because when you introduce new ways of working, we have to have the discipline to practice those new ways of working. And when that discipline is embedded in the ways we work, we can then see the little changes that would be evolving within the organization. And the moment we start seeing those changes, we can stand the chance of being complacent, which is not acceptable. We must continuously look at how do we build this new culture, this new ways of working to ensure that our organization stays around for the next decade, for the next century. And the continuous learning culture within organization, it's what would ensure that as an organization, we are around for the next decade. I've been involved in a few organizations who've been on the journey of implementing SAFE. But an organization that I've come across quite recently, for me, it's amazing to hear about what they do, how they do it, and why they do it. And I've been reading a book by Richard Sheridan on Joy Inc., Bringing Joy to Work. Yeah. And he's also written another book on the Chief Joy Officer. How can we bring joy to work? And Mellow Innovation is an interesting company. And when I say it's an interesting company, people pay to go and see what they do differently. They've brought joy to work. They've encouraged people to be innovative. They've opened the gateway for ideas. People have been given the will, the skill, the authority, the guidance, the guardrail to embed these new ways of working. And it's causing a lot of organizations to just ask, why do they do what they do? What is so different about such a company? Personally, having looked at a lot of pictures, there are lots of pictures about Mellow Innovation. When I looked at those pictures, what touched my heart was that baby who's learning to code at a very young age. Can you all see the baby who's learning to code at a very young age? Bringing babies to work. And it's not once, it's not twice. They've had 7 babies come through the organization where it's enabled mothers, fathers to just come back to work after a maternity leave, and the kids are brought in and they are creating that continuous learning, innovation, culture within the organization. This just means bring yourself to work, bring your family to work, bring all you have to help innovate and serve the customer. Take a look at what it takes when we adopt a continuous learning culture, a continuous improvement culture. I think Mellow Innovation as an organization have done something wonderful when it comes to looking at organizations that have embedded the continuous innovation and continuous improvement culture within the organization. So the big question is, how do we go about this? We are going to touch on these 3 dimensions. First, we are going to look at a learning organization. Secondly, we are going to look at organizations that build relentless improvement in the way they do their work. And thirdly, we will touch on an innovation culture that would enable us build that continuous improvement and continuous learning culture within the organization. You can't build continuous improvement without having a learning organization. You can't build continuous improvement without relentlessly learning and say, this is what I do, and improvement is part of my daily work. And enabling ideas within the organization is part of the innovative culture we want to build within our organization. So when we start the journey, what does it look like? As a learning organization, it should always start with you. Improving yourself, personal mastery. Within an agile environment, what we tend to talk about is developing the T-shaped skill so that you can fit within the team or you can fit within a particular agile team that's building a solution. Personal mastery would come from the organization saying, we need to improve our staff. And it also includes the staff member willing to say that I need to improve myself so that I can be of use to my organization and my team. So it involves creating your personal roadmap where you say, I need to develop these skills by X time. These are the key skills. I need to learn coaching. Okay, well, let me set myself some time to build that mastery, build that skill set of coaching. I need to learn and understand value stream mapping. I need to be a better product manager. I need to understand portfolio. Personal mastery is something that, as an individual, you take upon yourself to improve yourself daily so that you can become of use to your organization. Secondly, a shared vision. Of course, the shared vision needs to come from the leaders. But in many organizations, what we tend to see is the vision comes out, is shared, it becomes part of an artifact that sits somewhere, and it's not continuously shared so that people within the organization will know where we are going, why we want to be number one, why we want to beat the competition, and why people should choose to work with us. If people within the organization understand the shared vision and can continuously communicate the shared vision across the entire organization, it then means that we as an organization would be working together to deliver that particular vision. There's that popular story of the woman who was asked, or was it a woman or a man who was asked at NASA during the very early years when John F. Kennedy said, we want to go to the moon, not because it's easy, but because it's something we want to do. And that vision was shared across the entire teams, that when you asked the cleaner was able to say, I am keeping this place clean so that we can put a man on the moon. And that is powerful. Everyone within the organization understanding that shared vision and being able to ensure that that vision is what drives what they do daily. The next item is the continuous learning or team learning. With team learning, it's making sure that the entire team knows what they have to do. Everyone in the team has been made aware of what we are doing, why we're doing it, and what their contributions are. They understand the shared vision, and together as a team, we are learning to improve and to build a system that works for the organization. So daily collaborations, problem solving are things that the teams can be putting in place to ensure that they are learning and improving their ways of working. Thirdly, we talked about the Skilled Agile framework, which gives us guidelines when we are implementing this continuous learning culture and improvement across the organization. Within the SAFE framework, we have the PI planning, which is an event that all the teams come to plan for the next program increment. At that particular event, we share the vision for the teams. The teams start planning together, learning together, and with their retrospectives, they are able to improve. When we finish that PI planning, the teams walk away to start building the solution. That is where the teams continuously improve and build on the solution. In the PI planning, they are learning, they are improving. During the program increment, during the day-to-day, during what they do, they are continuously improving the ways of working. And even though that's a focus for the development value stream, what about the operations, the day-to-day? It's no more day-to-day. It's continuous learning and improving. We can say, oh, in the day, this is what I do, and I'll improve the organizations later. No. Whilst we are working, we are improving. We are taking feedback from the customer. We're taking feedback from what we're doing, and we are improving the way we do and think. So it's something that cannot be done later. It must be done now to enable the organization stay competitive. Systems thinking is the holistic thinking where we need to ensure that it's not the developers, it's not the scrum masters, it's not the product owners, or it's just not the leaders. Every corner of the organization, finance, legal, compliance, risk, the front office team, the back office team, everyone is part of this process. They are contributing towards the continuous learning and improvement culture. When you develop one part of the system and leave the others become the stumbling block. They become the impediments that impact the well-oiled area of the business. And over time, the whole business falls behind. But when we take that systems thinking approach to improve the whole business, everyone comes on the journey and it helps improve the way of working. The second part is just focusing on relentless improvement. Asking, what if? Why not? Why do we do what we're doing? What can we do differently? And there's an opportunity for the teams to look at it from a perspective that at every review session, we are asking ourselves, what can we improve? We're taking feedback from our stakeholders. At every retrospective, we as a team are asking, what have we done well? What can we improve? And you could see that I'm sure some of you are looking at some of the phones and saying, which one have I used? If it wasn't for continuous improvement and a focus on solving problems for the customer, I'm sure some of us will still be using the Nokia 3310 or we'll still be using some of the analog phones. But where we are now is as a result of a group of people just saying, we need to improve, we need to serve our customers better. And it's evolved into the new phones and digital assets that we use. As part of relentless improvement is the problem-solving culture. Problem solving has to be what we do. Problem solving is what would enable us ask those questions. And everyone who's problem solving learns the skills of critical thinking. If there is a problem, just thinking about where is this problem? What are the real things that are leading to this problem? Can I apply a root cause analysis to understand the root cause of this particular problem? When we identify this particular problem, we could be asking ourselves, are there any potential options? We don't immediately go into, oh, what's the solution? Because there could be multiple solutions to that. What are the options for this particular problem? What can we reimagine? What can we do differently? And it's that thinking that enables us to serve our customers much better, because when we identify a problem and immediately go towards a solution, the first solution might be an easy one that solves the problem immediately. But when we start reimagining, what can we do differently? What is it that we are looking at, and what can we identify as options that would enable us solve this particular problem? Problem solving, critical thinking are key skills that we all need to develop when we form part of this continuous improvement and learning culture within the organization. The PDCA, the PDSA is all part of the approaches. We must plan. Once we take a look at the problem, what's the background of the problem? Are there any things we want to, what's the scope of this problem? Is there anything that is outside of scope? Is there anything that's within the scope of this problem? When we start spending time analyzing the problem, critically thinking about the problem, we can then identify good ideas that would enable us solve such problem. We can evaluate the various outcomes. We can then see if among this outcome, which one will give us the best results, or which one will give us an outcome that will be long lasting for the customer, not just picking one that is so close. And because we've just started thinking about it, we select that one. We spend time ideating to find a problem that when we solve, or the problem when we solve by identifying multiple ideas, it can become a long lasting solution that would enable our customers get more benefits. But in an agile environment, it's not one time, it's continuous. And the more we learn from understanding that particular problem, the more we learn from the feedback from the customer, we can improve. The third area is focusing on that innovative culture, creating time and space for innovation within organizations. Most organizations are faced with the tyranny of the agent. Everything looks like, I need to do it now. We need to improve the business now. We need to focus on getting this done now. And we don't give time and space for innovation. Quite recently, at Leshego, we spent some time having a hackathon. Amazing ideas were developed from various teams to help us improve the way we build a solution. And for most of those who were involved, they spent time reflecting, critically thinking, and it helped them explore ideas to enhance the product we have. New ideas for the products were developed, and some ideas were selected so that we can enhance the product we're building for the customer. The hackathon enabled the teams to start looking at how do we create that continuous improvement mindset that would help us serve our customers and also reduce waste or remove impediments from some of the ways we work and from the things that impact teams. Personally, I was really touched by the commitment of many of the teams during the hackathon, going through the process, applying themselves to create ideas that would help the organization improve. Organizations that create time and space for hackathons, for idea generations, would be able to serve their customers best. Companies like Amazon, Google, and Microsoft, and all the big names spend a lot of times on hackathon. And actually, when we look at most of Amazon's products, it has been as a result of ideas that have been generated from various teams. Toyota is a company that also builds its teams around bringing in ideas. When we bring in ideas to improve the organization, we want to create that riptide of daily team members thinking about how can we improve? What's the new idea? We don't want to wait till a hackathon. No, it's not the best. Though hackathons help us, it's not the best to wait for it. But if we can create that daily mindset among teams to say, bring in an idea. Nobody should push down that idea. Those ideas should be brought on board. We should think about it. Start looking at the ideas from a customer's perspective. How can we use these ideas to support our customers? How can we use these ideas to reduce cost? How can we use these ideas to generate revenue? And when we have a portfolio that constantly reflects on these ideas, as well, we don't want the portfolio to become a blocker where there's so many ideas and they are not sifting through the best ideas to be implemented. We want a portfolio that's helping the organization look at the ideas scientifically, reflecting on them, and then embedding those ideas in the teams to be built or developed by the organizations. Some ideas might not need to be built or developed as a solution. They can be things that can be implemented by the teams to improve the ways of working. And in the hackathon at Leshego, some of the teams came up with ideas that were super amazing. They just wanted to improve the ways of working. They wanted to improve just giving refunds. For them, it was taking about X number of days. But after the hackathon, they found a way of saying, we are going to give refunds in a number of days. We're going to cut it down and reduce it and create better customer engagement or better customer love for the organization. So making sure that these ideas, these new ways of working are things that will drive the organization to better serve the customer would help us generate the revenue. It will also help us become a profitable organization. It's not easy to start creating this innovative culture within the organization and to also sustain them within the organization, because when it starts, it might be started by an individual or it might be started by a team, but these new ways of working need to be supported by the leadership team. When the leadership team support it, they can help us embed it much better. So hackathons are great. And if you are if you're having a hackathon within the organization, it might involve 30 to 40 people, which is very costly. So make sure that these ideas have a buy-in from the leadership team. And when you have that buy-in from the leadership team, you can then sustain it within the organization. The continuous improvement culture, I know you've been here, I've been talking about it. I'm so passionate about it because it helps increase motivation within teams. It helps reduce cost. It helps generate revenue for the organization. And it helps us to reflect on the organization and improve our organization. It becomes a daily thing we want to do. And it becomes a part of whom we are as we improve the organization. But first and foremost, you as an individual can start it. Better off, our leadership team can help us on that journey. And in doing that, they can help us sustain it. On this journey as well of continuous improvement, there will be people who would talk the talk and not walk the walk. Such people need to be continuously engaged. It's not about just saying, hey, you're talking the talk, you're not walking the walk, so out of the company. No, let's engage them, let's enlighten them, let's train them, let's give them the guardrails, let's give them the skills, because probably they've got the will. The next step is executing it. So engaging such people on such a journey can help us sustain it. Best again is leadership that can enable us sustain these new ways of working. So first, let's bring our leaders into the process. Let them be those that are kicking it off. We as individuals must be part of the journey. Teams, management, usually we would say champions would help us do all of this. But often, it's just not good enough to have champions. We need to bring management into the whole process. In most large organizations, we get leadership buy-in, we see team buy-in, we see individual buy-in, but the last bit is management, who come to the table last. Is it that they are forgotten, or is it that it just takes them time? Or some will say, I've been here for too long, I've seen it all before, and this is just one of those. Or this is not how we do things here. We need to bring management on board on the journey. When everyone is on board, we would see this wave where everyone is a part of this big process and helping us on the journey. Everyone is helping us build these new ways of working. It cannot just be the management team. It can just not be we as a team who are just doing it. Everyone needs to be on board to enable us build this new way of working. It has to be that ripple effect. It has to be across the entire organization. And if you start it alone and you don't have other people buying in, it will not go far. It's also good to communicate the little wins that we have so we can build this across the entire organization. If we have short-term wins, yes, let's communicate it. If we have big wins, let's communicate it. And it's only by communicating those big wins on this journey that we can build the entire organization to come on the journey and sustain this journey of continuous improvement. What can we as a team do differently on this journey? I'll share my takeaways that you as a person who's come on this particular webinar can definitely take away. These are the three things I shared. One, let's all be part of the learning organization. First, it's always up to you, your personal mastery, your personal mindset, having that growth mindset to say, yes, this is what I did today, but I need to improve for tomorrow. Sharing that vision to enable others buy into the vision. We know visions are great, but most often they can be kept in the cupboard. When it's shared, we continuously need to share them so that everyone buys into the vision. It needs to be a whole. It just can't just be the development team or just the HR team on this journey. Everyone within the organization must be part of this journey to bring in the new ways of working. Secondly, is relentless improvement. It's just not enough to say, yes, oh, we've done this, or let's go and have a nap. No. What next? What else can we do? We can be asking ourselves the 5 whys. Why? What else can we do? What if? What next? Those are some of the questions we can be asking. Yes, we can say there's a constant sense of danger. Through the pandemic, we saw many companies that went down. And after the pandemic, most organizations are going through the process of bringing people back in. But competition doesn't go away. And when the market is in turmoil, organizations are impacted. So organizations need to know that if we sleep, yes, there'll be a new kid on the block that will take our customers away. So there must be that mindset to continuously learn and improve. We'll optimize the whole, have that problem-solving culture, and continuously reflect at key milestones to improve the whole process. Finally, is the innovative culture that would enable us get to where we want to be. Bringing hackathons, bringing ideas, bringing new ways of working, or just making sure that everyone is curious to do what they are doing and to continuously find new ways of improving the organization. When you go back to work tomorrow, you can ask yourself, what can I do to help improve what I did yesterday? Everyone needs to be challenged to make an incremental improvement and make it a priority. Make it visible as well. It's not showing off, but it's encouraging our colleagues to come on the journey to help improve the whole process. We create that continuous improvement learning culture by making sure that our colleagues join the party and help us improve. I have been talking about the continuous improvement and learning culture. I've talked about the 3 takeaways. First, let's create that learning organization. Second, let's talk about relentless improvement. And finally, let's create innovation as part of what we do. If you've not been following, or if you want one thing to go home with, remember Menlo Innovations, bringing joy to work. And Menlo Innovation is an organization that has created that continuous improvement culture, and people go to pay to see what's happening in the organization. I'm sure that one day I would also like to go and see what's happening within the organization. But I've been following what they're doing, and it's amazing what they as a company can do to bring joy to the workers. And everyone who's working at Menlo just wants to come back to work every day. And I showed a picture of the little baby that had already started coding from a very small age. And because they are being brought to work, it's helping the families, the mothers, the fathers constantly improve the organization.